You are not just another hustling salesperson. You are the expert, the resource, the valuable partner for your clients. And how you grow your business should reflect how your clients see you. Welcome to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. We generate referrals without asking, build positive client experiences, and help you take control of your business. Here's your charmingly sarcastic host, Stacey Brown Randall.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 148 of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Brown Randall. Okay, we are moving right along and continuing as we break down the layers of your referral strategy. Now, as you know, if you are a listener of the podcast over the last month or two, and of course last year when I first started talking about these layers, you know that there are 6 layers in your referral strategy. You probably also know that if you want to download the visual to be able to visualize and see what these 6 layers are and the basic concepts and steps within them, you can go to staceybrownrandall.com/layers. That's LAYERS, layers. You can go to that website and just download your version, your very own copy of the PDF. And that's going to break down all 6 layers. It's going to show you how they're interconnected and how they're not interconnected. It's going to show you the basic steps and objectives or goals of the layers as well. And of course, as we talked about in depth, because we moved to layers 3 and 4 in last week's episode 147, I also went through and explained the left side and the right side of that visual, left side being the 2 referral plans I want you to have built, and the right side being the 4 language tactics I need you to know. And so, of course, we kind of started last week with the first 2 layers, layers 3 and 4, that are on the right side, which are the language tactics. And we're continuing on with another language tactic, layer number 5 of the referral strategy. And it is specifically what I teach that people should do when it comes to new clients. So when you think about having a new client, there is some tools in your toolbox that I want you to have that would help you on your referral generation strategy, right? On your goal to get more referrals. There's just some language tactics that I want you to have as tools in your toolbox when it comes to your new clients. But the truth is, it actually has overarching to do with your clients in general. Now, planting referral seeds is sometimes easier, right? If we're thinking language tactics, planting client experience, referral seeds, it's typically easier done when the client is still new versus a client that you worked with 2 years ago or a client that started with you 3 years ago and yet you're still working with them, right? It's a little bit easier to plant those referral seeds, those language tactics with our new clients when they are hence new. But here's the thing, as I was thinking about how I wanted to break down this layer for you, to teach it to you on this episode, here's a couple of things that came to mind that I think is really important. And then, of course, that led to a light bulb moment for me to shift some things that we have coming up here on the podcast. So let me just say this. There is what I call a disclaimer to everything that I teach. As you guys know, I teach you how to get more referrals from your existing referral sources, how to turn clients and contacts into referral sources so that they will refer you, right? When we're talking about the topics of referrals, that's what I teach you. But the truth is, there is like a step that comes before all that. And that disclaimer is that you do great work and you are actually, in fact, referable. I'm going to say something, and some of you aren't going to like it. And I'm hoping I'm not going to hear a whole bunch of podcast listening apps go click because Stacey just made you mad. Yep, I just talked about myself in the third person. I'm hoping that I don't make you mad on this, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Some of you don't deserve referrals because the work that you do is not anything worth referring. I know that's hard to hear. I also know that some of you do amazing work some of the time. And not all clients get that same amazing, great client experience because your processes are choppy. So some of you just don't do great work and you're working to fix that. I know you are because that's why you're a business owner. And if something's not working, we're smart. We know how to put on our hats and roll up our sleeves and get to work, right? We need to pull in that tool belt and be like, okay, let's fix the things in the business that aren't working. And maybe sometimes you're not doing great work because you're just not bringing in the right people where you can do your best work, right? So there's lots of reasons why you may not be getting referrals. And I'm going to have to just say what it is. I'm going to call a spade a spade. In some cases, it's because you're not worthy of them. It's because you don't deserve them because you don't actually do great work. Or you don't do great work all of the time, and there's a choppiness to some of the experiences that your clients do have. Now, here's the thing. Nothing will ever be perfect. I know, even though we work really hard with the client experience we have with the people who join my programs, whether that's Growth by Referrals, Referral Ninja Inner Circle, Sticky Client Experience, or the Goal Finishers Club, in any of those cases, we work really hard on the process of what that client experience looks like. But I know it could be better, right? I'm always thinking about how to fix the things that aren't where I want them to be in my business. And so I'm not saying you have perfection from day one or even day 1001. Like, that's not what I'm saying. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about getting it right every single time. Of course you make mistakes. You know what? Sometimes people log into the Growth by Referrals program and something doesn't work and they have to email us and I have to get my tech team to look into what's going on. Because guess what? Everything in our business runs on other people's software. So it may be my information, my intellectual property, my knowledge that I am providing to people through my programs, but it runs on software, right? That is managed and I use other technology-based companies, right, to deliver all my brain goods, right? All the things, all my intellectual property, all my information that I have within my programs. And so things don't always work perfectly. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that you just know you don't get results for your clients. You just know that you aren't communicating the way that you need to. You don't have the right processes and procedures in place. Everything is like stress and waiting to the last minute and crazy deadlines and all these intense fire drills because there's just something about that client experience you haven't figured out. Some of you just don't do great work. Some of you do great work some of the time, not consistently. And others of you are in a different place where you do great work and things do break and you do know how to fix them and you do know how to take responsibility. That's where I want you to be. I want you to be in this third bucket, right? I don't want things to be perfect, but I do want you to do great work. I do want you to get results for your clients. I do want you to be the reason why people say, thank you for helping me in my personal life or my business life, depending on what you do for them, right? You made my world better. But that's what I look for when people go through my programs. I want them to say, you made my world better, right? They use different words to say that, but that's ultimately what I'm after. And so when we start thinking about being able to get referrals, and I start teaching people, okay, here's how you get referrals from your existing referral sources, and here's how you get your referrals from your potential referral sources, there's like this whole initial piece that I leave out of the equation, which is you've got to be referable. Now, you know this, particularly if you've taken the Referral Ninja quiz. You know the very first question that I ask on that quiz is, do you believe you deserve referrals? The whole concept of that question is based on the fact that you actually believe that the work you do and how you do it and the results you get from your clients means that people should be referring you. And it is okay to say emphatically, heck yes, to that question. Some of you hesitate with that question. And it's not because you don't think you're not worthy of referrals, but you know you may not deserve them because of actually how your client experience or what it's like to be a client hiring you or being a client of yours is ultimately like. Like you don't actually know what it's like to be a client. And so you don't really know what they go through. So whereas I want you to believe into your innermost core that you deserve referrals because I believe if we do great work, we all deserve referrals. But the if we do great work is a very important part of that statement. So you've heard me say, I'm sure plenty of times, right? If you do great work, you deserve referrals, but you're not owed them. So we're going to do some work to be able to receive them, which of course is where all the referral stuff comes in that I teach. But that very first part of that statement is if you do great work, that is the referable piece. Are you referable? And that's the disclaimer on everything I teach you. And that is the piece that you really have to get locked and loaded if you want to receive more referrals. And what I realized as I was going to get ready to break down layer number 5 within the referral strategy for this episode, I was like, how long has it been since we've talked about this whole concept of being referable? Like, how long has it been since on the podcast we have dove into this idea of being referable and having the type of client experience that would generate referrals or that would at least make you referable? It's been a very long time, like very, very long time. So My light bulb moment for me was to kind of shift some things I had planned for the upcoming episodes and really put a focus on this client experience piece, because it is a foundational piece of you being able to get referrals. When somebody comes to me and they're like, I've never received a referral, I think two things. One, well, of course, I'm thinking, why have you not received referral? But my why comes from two places. It's one, eek. Is it because you actually aren't worthy of them in terms of you're not actually doing the right type of client experience to receive them? Or are you actually leaving referrals on the table that you just don't even notice are there in front of you? It's like one or the other, right? And so if it's the first, if it's like, oh my gosh, it's because you're not referable, it's because you don't have the right client experience, I believe I'm doing a disservice to you guys that we don't dig into this. Now, some of you know, particularly my students who are in the Growth by Referrals program, you know I have another program called the Sticky Client Experience. And it's like an add-on to the Growth by Referrals program if you know you need help in that area of really honing into and looking at your client experience through the eyes of your clients and giving them what they need. And as you know, with most things that I teach, I'm going to break it down into a formula, I'm going to reverse engineer it for you, and I'm going to give it to you step by step by step. But even though I have a program on it, and even though lots of my Growth by Referrals clients or students who buy the program then also get that program, I haven't really talked about it on the podcast. So that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start a new series and a new focus on really becoming referable. And I'm going to break down the client experience for you in sections. Now, there's a very unique, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't say unique, but there's a very specific reason as to why we're also starting this, which I will reveal in next week's podcast as well. It's always amazing to me how God kind of works to make all the stars align in the way that they were supposed to, that I couldn't see until I stepped back and allowed myself to be told what to do in this scenario. So next week's episode, we're going to kind of kick this off. It's going to be kind of a different episode than I've done before, of kind of really unleashing and starting and bringing in this new series that we'll do over a series of weeks on understanding the whole concept of your client experience. So here's the thing I want you to understand, though, about specifically how layer number 5 works within your referral strategy. There are language tactics that I teach to folks in my inner circle, and that's usually when you've graduated past the Growth by Referrals program. You've done it for the first 9 months and you're executing on your plans and stuff and you're having success. You can move into the inner circle. And we really dig into this whole, like, okay, what referral seeds are we planting, right, with our new clients? We also dig into, with like last week's episode, some of the referral seeds that I teach regarding non-referred and referred prospects. But also in the inner circle, we talk about clients and planting referral seeds with clients, particularly what it looks like to plant them within new clients. And if you're looking at that PDF visual of all 6 layers, you see in that new client box, it specifically says having a sticky client experience, which we're about to dive into in the upcoming episodes, and then planting client experience referral seeds. Now, this is, again, just another tactic, right? It's just another tool in your toolbox that I want you to have so that as a part of your client experience, there's moments when you know you're going to plant referral seeds. And that's what I teach my folks in the Referral Ninja Inner Circle, is to really understand those moments to plant those referral seeds. And what's really funny to me is that I do practice what I preach, right? So it's really funny to me when I'm working with one of my Growth by Referral students who's at the VIP level, which means we're working together one-on-one. And for a year together, right? That's the VIP process, and the engagement is for a year. And so it's always funny to me when I have a VIP who is, as I define them in that new client stage, right? Who's been referred to me, right? So this is a VIP Growth by Referrals student at the VIP level that's been referred to me. Or again, if you were not referred to me, you would not have this happen, right? But when I'm teaching the exact language to use and the referral seeds to use when a client is in that new stage, right? I'll ask them as I'm teaching them what to say. I'll be like, by the way, have you noticed that I've done this to you? And they'll laugh because they'll be like, oh my gosh, you did. There were moments within that new client stage where you were planting referral seeds. And then I'm teaching them what I did so that they can replicate it and do it for themselves. Because, of course, I do practice what I preach. And so it's really always funny to me. And I'm like, it's one tactic. It's one language thing. It's one thing that I do at one step within my client experience in the client new stage that allows me to plant referral seeds. And as we talked about in last week's episode 147, and of course, as I've been talking about in these 4 layers of your referral strategy that are language-based, that are language tactical based, it's just that. It's not like there are 6 plans within your referral strategy. Sometimes it's just a tool in the toolbox and you know exactly when to pull it out, or you've taught your team exactly when to pull it out, because you're not always going to be the ones that's going to be planting the referral seeds if you have a team and your team also deals with your clients as well. And so it's really funny to me when I'm able to do something to someone and then teach it to them and they're like, oh my gosh, light bulb just went off. I totally get this, right? And kind of how all these pieces work together. But here's the thing. New clients are more likely to be in a state of willingness to refer when they're new. And that's why layer number 5 is specifically geared to planting referral seeds within that new client stage. And that's the tactic, the language tactic in layer number 5 that I teach. But it does also include the overall sticky client experience, the client experience your clients have when they're new, then when they move into the second stage, and then when they move into the third stage, all of which, of course, we are going to dig into in some upcoming episodes. And so what I want you to understand, though, about layer number 5, it's you considering moments for you to plant referral seeds when a client is what you would consider new. Because usually when somebody's new and they're excited about working with you and they're just getting started, they are at a state of mind where if you're planting the right referral seeds, they're just more likely to refer you. I had somebody who joined at the at the VIP level of the GBR program at the end of 2020. And he was referring people to me before we had even had his first initial VIP session, because he had read the book, he'd listened to the podcast, he was all geared up, he was all ready to go. And then before we even had our first session, he was referring people to me. And then after we had our first session, right, deliver on your promises, he was geared up and he's referred me some more as well. But you're more likely to do it when you're new. And that's why I want you to understand this is layer number 5, is that tactic, that strategy for you to have, right, in your toolbox of understanding how to be able to generate referrals by the language that you use with clients in the new stage. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to generate referrals from every client who's in the new stage. It's about your ability to plant the referral seed to then see what happens, to see if referrals will come, or if you'll start planting the seed and then nurturing it and watering it as they continue through your client experience, that will eventually get them to the place where they will refer you. Some people can refer you just because they're so excited to work with you. Other people will start referring you once you have helped them get the results they're looking for. It just depends. We're all kind of built a little bit different. And so that is the tactic. That's the tool in the toolbox I want you to understand with layer number 5, specifically around new clients and their willingness to refer in that state of mind and in that stage of working with you. Again, some, not all, but it's about you knowing how to consistently plant the referral seeds to find those new clients who are more likely to refer you. And again, you guys know you can download on the show notes page or on that special link, I'll give it to you in just one second, that visual that's going to lay out for you all 6 layers of the referral strategy. So the show notes page for this episode is stacybrownrandall.com/148, or you can just go direct to stacybrownrandall.com/layers. And of course, as you guys know, Stacy has an E. All right, so I mentioned this last episode. I'm going to make this request another time for you guys. We are coming up on my 150th episode. I am figuring out what in the world my 150th episode is going to look like. Super excited about it. I was really stressed about it. Then I kind of got excited about it when I started figuring out what I thought that episode would look like. And of course, I asked in our free community, Referrals Without Asking, like, what would you guys want your 150th episode? What do you want or what would you want your 150th episode of a podcast to look like? So appreciating feedback that's come in from that as well. But the favor I'm going to ask is I would love some new reviews of the podcast, ratings and reviews. Obviously, guys, I want your 5-star ratings and your very positive reviews, but whatever you give me, I want them to be positive. Because remember, the more reviews any show has, mine and anybody else, any other podcast that you listen to, the more reviews that we have, the more ratings and reviews that we have, it allows us to reach more business owners just like you, because the ratings and reviews will give us more exposure. So that is what we are looking for in honor of the 150th episode. That means me sending you, delivering to you through your podcast listening app, a brand new episode for 150 weeks in a row. It's pretty amazing. Imagine if I worked out for 150 weeks in a row, right? the changes in my life. But this is just about the podcast. Okay, next week is episode 149, and we're actually taking the podcast on location. It's a very special episode. We're going on location. I can't wait to share it with you. And then, of course, we'll have episode 150. After that, we'll do celebration of our 150th episode, and then we will start diving into making sure you are referable so that you can actually get the referrals you deserve because you're referable through your sticky client experience. And we will unleash that new series coming up with episode 151. But before we get there, we're going to episode 149, a special on-location episode. Don't miss it. Until then, take control and grow your business. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. To access all resources and links mentioned in today's show and to connect with Stacy, head over to www.stacybrownrandall.com.